Henry.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. I am your host, Henry Kaminski Jr., and today we're going to be talking about increasing your online exposure as a subject matter expert. I got my man, Owais Qureshi, back in the house. What's shaking, my friend?
What's going on, man? Happy to be back after a week's break.
You got a little rejuvenation?
That's right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So today we're going to be talking about 4 ways to build your brand awareness. And one of the big problems that I'm seeing out there is there's plenty of folks out there that are masters at their craft, and they are the best kept secret. They are consistently struggling with obscurity. They're overwhelmed with what they should be doing online or through social media, and they don't know exactly what whack-a-mole they should be smacking. And it's leading to analysis paralysis. It's leading to perfectionism, and it's leading to zero action. So what we're going to talk about today is 4 ways. And I'm going to share with you one way that actually landed a $40,000 client, which turned out to be an amazing project right after this quick little message. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesignz with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. All right, Owais, so let's get into it. What is step number 1 before we get into trying to elevate our online exposure?
Sure. So number 1 is to understand where your customers are. Where do they go? Where do they go to consume information and make a buying decision? And so, again, we have a number of platforms now. Everyone talks about omnipresence, but really figure out if being on something like TikTok is useful for your business, or if being on Tumblr or some of these other platforms that perhaps aren't necessarily the best use for your core customers. So knowing where they go is a big deal. Uh, what platforms don't they prefer is also another one. I've talked to again, depending on what demographics you're trying to target. Some demographics might not prefer, and they might not even be using Facebook. There's certain people that I speak to that are Gen Xers or baby boomers, and there's an aversion there for them to use TikTok. So again, it really varies from demographic to demographic. Knowing who you are wanting to serve and who your ideal client is keeps going back to that same equation. Knowing who your client is
Yep.
makes a huge difference. And how are they consuming your content? So now you go a little further down. How are they consuming content once you're on those platforms is also a big deal. Of course, like something like Clubhouse, only audio, right? So if they prefer to sit into that conversation for an hour and actually listen in, that's useful information for you. If they only like using, only like watching videos, another one. And, Henry and I on a routine basis go back and really take a look at the data and say, well, how are our audience actually consuming this content and for how long? And then we'll go back and refine our information, refine our story to make sure that we're bringing you guys the useful content and useful information in the best time possible. So be mindful of whether they're consuming video, audio, whether they're actually reading the captions, whether they're consuming it through carousels. So whatever that may be. So that's step one.
Step two.
Step two would be understanding what influences your target customers' buying behavior, and that's how you win those people over. So, we make decisions based on our need to either survive or our need to thrive. So, always kind of think back to that. Knowing your customers, having a good pulse on your customers, will really help you gain a good understanding in terms of what helps them make the decisions. That again, what do they want to gain? What is it that they will gain as a result of using your product? And does that align with what they want to gain? What's their aversion? I talked
Mhm.
about, their aversion to not wanting to use a specific platform. So same thing, what are they trying to avoid is the other piece. What pains are they, what is that immediate pain, or what is it that what sort of a negative outcome are they trying to avoid?
Mhm.
And then more importantly, what is it that they value? Trying to address all of those components.
Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. What I want to do, I want to try something different today. What I'm going to do here is if anybody wants to join the live with us, I'm going to drop a link in the comments. And all you have to do is click it, and you will get invited to the green room. And so long as you look legit, I'm going to invite you up. And you could join the live stream with us. I noticed that StreamYard has been acting very, very quirky today. So there may be a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but I'm going to go ahead and drop those links in there and see if you could get access to that. Now, no worries. If you just want to ask a question, feel free to drop a question in the comments. Just make sure you put a big capital Q in front of the question so that we can hammer out the question or find the question easily. Now, getting back to increasing your online exposure, I love what you said, Oase. You nailed it. You definitely have to know those things first in order to move forward. Now, the one thing that I want to pay attention to is I'm sure that a lot of you have connections to influencers that you may not even have. And I'm not talking about, what everybody's saying, the social media influencers or the online influencers. There may be influencers in your community. There may be influencers elsewhere that you actually have a connection with, right? you have to leverage those connections. You have to leverage those relationships. That's what they're there for, really. And how many times we go to a networking event and somebody says, if you need anything, let me know. I'm here to help. Take them up on that. Don't let that go, because you're leaving a ton of opportunity on the table there. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty here. When I'm talking about ways to increase your online presence, I'm talking about leveraging collaboration. This is one of the biggest ways to grow your brand awareness online. Talking about live stream collaborations like we're doing right now, right? What about podcasting? Whether you own your own podcast or you're a guest on somebody else's podcast. I'll give you a quick example. Told you about that 40K client from last year. I was aggressive on getting on other people's podcasts. So I bump into this guy, originally from the US. He's now in Hungary. And we had a phenomenal conversation on his podcast. A few weeks later, hits me back up. I'm looking to rebrand. I'm looking to really solidify this product I've been working on for 2 years. I need somebody to help me launch it correctly. Henry, you're the guy. Boom. Turned into a 40K project just like that. Had I not been bullish on getting on other people's podcasts and putting in the work, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can hire an agency to vet podcasts for you, or you can put in the legwork yourself and do some searching in your niche or outside of your niche of podcasts that you would want to be featured on. And then just send them a quick little email. Hey, love your podcast. Would love to be a guest. Here's how I can contribute value. Are you looking for new guests?
Yeah.
That's it. Take you 3 seconds. Right? So very, very important. Now, always, you have a collaboration move, I should say, that's been working really well for you. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, networking groups is one, and it kind of goes back to what you were talking about, influencers. And I immediately during that time, I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. It's one thing when someone talks about influencers, we're thinking about the ones that are on Instagram, bikini models and all that. But
Dan
or even
Bilzerians.
creators, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But beyond that, think beyond that, and think about the people that are within your own network that are very experienced, very well connected, have a significantly large span of network that that they're tapped into in various industries, and talk to them, establish relationships with them. I myself joined a professional peer advisory group about 5 years now. So 5 years ago, I joined this group, and that opened up. The purpose of that wasn't necessarily to network, but the byproduct of that became that now I'm now connected to other business owners that are essentially going through the same thing that I'm going through. But again, you're now connected to all these different industries. Some we serve, some we don't, and they opened up the path. They opened up this new gateway, so to speak, or this new pipe for me to tap into and say, okay, well, you know what? Who do you know that I should know? And
Yeah.
that's a great question to lead in with. Who do you know that I should know? And so that again, that group Vistage really helped me not only for my professional development, but again, to expand my network. Henry's Facebook group comes to mind. That's another piece. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you just teed me right up there. Facebook groups are a great way to increase your online exposure. Whether it's my group or somebody else's group, you want to look for niche groups that you can serve. right? Back in the day when ClickFunnels just came out, I was heavily involved in their ClickFunnels group. And I was their go-to guy in there for funnel designs and branding. And that was when I was actually still working with Russell one-on-one and the ClickFunnels team, putting together their brand assets and things. And man, it was a treasure trove of leads and treasure trove of business. And now, I'm very selective in those types of groups now. But so I created my own. And you get access to live streams like this. You get access to me. You get access to other people inside. There's over like 800 people, almost 1,000 people, if not close to 1,000 people in that group right now. And it just grew. I've had it for a few years and it just grew organically. And it's a great, great network of people. There's some heavy hitters in there. They're quiet, but they're in there. And so if you went in there and you answered questions and you connected with other people's posts and stuff, you're gonna make that connection. Something's gonna spark. And eventually, if you do it over and over and over again, you're gonna be seen as the go-to for your niche. All right, whatever that is, or the go-to for that product or service, right? So Facebook groups, a great way to grow your online exposure. Another way to grow your online exposure, Twitter spaces. So now that Clubhouse is kind of fizzled out and there's not too many, I don't hear too much about it. Twitter created Twitter spaces, which is very, very similar setup to Clubhouse. And what they do is they go live and there's a panel of people as speakers and you cover a specific topic of whatever it is. Now, here's how I grew my Twitter account. I think a couple hundred people. I think before I started getting involved in the Twitter spaces, there was like 800 people. Now there's over 1,000, right? Sounds like small, but in just a couple of weeks, I was able to grow my Twitter following by 50, 60, a couple hundred people, right? And how I did that was there were some Twitter spaces that were being published on a frequency like every other week or every week. I happened to be just available when they were live. I would jump in there. I'd raise my hand. I'd ask questions. And then next thing you know, after doing that a couple of times, the host of the show said, I'm going to bring my friend up here, Henry, because he contributes a lot. He shares personal stories. He shares life lessons. He shares business lessons. And now I'm being promoted as a guest speaker on these Twitter spaces, which is growing my presence over there quite exponentially. So that's that. What about live events, right? Live events I would say, are back in full swing. They may not have,
Absolutely.
right, the thousands of attendees as once before, but they're coming back pretty strong, right? I'll give you a quick example. This is the first time I met Oasis in person. It was back in November. I had a speaking engagement in Austin, and he came from Houston to meet me. And I met this guy at this event that I spoke at, and he was intrigued with what I did. And he started following me on Instagram, kept in touch, and said, "Hey, I facilitate a daily show, Monday through Friday. It wasn't a show, but it was a coaching group with about 60 entrepreneurs in it. I would love for you to come and speak at it." I said, why the hell not? So we did it last Monday. I was in front of 53 business owners, and this guy spotlighted me as the go-to for branding. And I taught some fundamentals of branding. I taught them how to increase their online exposure. I taught them how to position themselves. And I got like 50 new followers on Instagram because he put my Instagram handle in the Zoom chat. So these 4 tips, okay, are huge. You just have to get after it and do it. That's the key. So no one's going to find you if you're hiding behind your computer. It's just that simple. So I want you to shine. I want you to share. I want you to give. I want you to help. I want you to guide the people that you truly want to serve. I gave you 4 channels to do this with today. I want you to take advantage of it. And if you're stuck, shoot me a DM, shoot me a PM, shoot me an email. You can't get away from me on social media. I'm everywhere. So I'm not hiding from you. You might be hiding from me. But if you have questions, make sure you get in touch with me. I am happy to help point you in the right direction. So, Awais, any questions? And is there any questions from the audience that you have in regards to increasing your online exposure online that you might be stuck with?
So I've got two things to say. One is going back to your Facebook groups, and you were talking about how you were able to grow that. One thing to mention, it goes without saying, but still worth mentioning, that Henry was obviously in there engaging with everyone and answering questions and posting some valuable content that was exclusive to that group, right? So, and then same thing, I'm sure it's the same thing with the what is it, the Twitter Spaces. So that's always to keep in mind, regardless of whether you're posting publicly or inside of private groups, that you have to engage. And as a matter of fact, that's how the algorithm now favors your post, anyways. But just exclude the algorithm and think about going into a physical room, networking with people, and all you've basically done is, hey, by the way, here's an idea. I'm going to walk away and not have a conversation with the person. That's what you're doing when you post something and you don't engage with the people that are, finding your content useful. Perhaps they've placed a question in there. Perhaps they've even maybe said, hey, this is great. This is good content. Thank you. The more you engage with them and acknowledge what they're saying, the more apt they're going to be, the more prone they're going to be to engage with your future posts. And they, and as how many times have we seen this exact same statistics out there around LinkedIn, particularly, where there's only 1% of LinkedIn users that are creators. And then there's like a significantly large. I saw it again this on my feeds today. It was like, yeah, 99% of the users that are on LinkedIn are lurkers. So
Isn't that crazy?
what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that doesn't mean that they're not interested. That just means that they're just hiding. They watch, they see your content. They might not be engaging with it, but ultimately, what's going to serve your business is to create that top of mind awareness, to always be in front of your clients. And that brings me to my second point, which is a question. What will serve your business more? To be the best kept secret or to be best known?
There you go. That is the $1 million question right there. Nobody wants to be the best kept secret. They don't. Especially if you have a great product or service that you're looking to get out there and share with the world to help them better themselves. So take action on these 4 very simple. You want to start a Facebook group and start to get some people in there? This is all you got to do. Go adjust your email signature and add a little line item that says, hey, join my Facebook group. It's free, and have a hyperlink to it. You know how many people join my group just from my email signature? If you got a podcast, put it in your email signature, right? Little simple things like that move mountains. And then don't be, you'd be surprised too. You'll see people sharing your content, right? Make sure you give them a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
Don't just heart it, right? Don't just heart it and be like, that's my sign of love. Like, write them like, thanks for sharing my content. And then I always follow up with the question, what struck you about this post? Right? Or what do you love about my content that you can share with me? I'm always looking to improve. I'm always looking for feedback. It's amazing insights you can get from your audience by just going that extra step.
Exactly. And they become your supporters. Yeah. And over time, they become your supporters. I'll tell you, my own experience over the course of the last year, when I became more consistent with posting up content that made people think differently, or just it was just thought provoking from whatever. I didn't even think so, but other people found it helpful because they're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there were two or three people in particular that would, at least once a month, I would notice that they're resharing 3, 4 of my posts every month. And so at the end of the year, I specifically included them on my Christmas card list and wrote them a handwritten note. And that, things like that go a long way too, to just
Mhm.
continue to expand your network and continue to stay in front of people that perhaps aren't necessarily going to be your immediate clients, but they're going to be your influencers. They're going to be the ones that are getting other people into your pipeline.
There you go. Big shout out to Nicholas Fury on LinkedIn. He said, "This is gold, guys. Great advice." Yeah, I appreciate you for tuning in. That's it, guys. So if you want to go back and take some notes and find one of those 4 ways that you can increase your online exposure that feels more comfortable with you and tackle that one first, that's what you do, guys, because that's what's going to bring you closer to actually getting in front of the audience that you want to get in front of. And that's the key, man. You got to put in the work, you got to put in the frequency, you got to put in the time, and I can promise you things are going to work out for you. It's that simple. I'll leave you with this, guys. There was a quote that Jim Rohn said years and years and years ago. And he said, there's a time to reap and there's a time to sow. And then he tells this story about this farmer who spent all of his time harvesting that year. And he was putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. And when he got done, a hailstorm came through and destroyed his harvest. What do you think the farmer did? Did he just burn the farm down and quit? No. He said, you win some, you lose some. As long as the outcome is income, I'm going to be okay. And he got back on the horse and he started harvesting again. And the moral of the story there, guys, Jim Rohn says it. He says, more times than not, you're going to be able to bear fruit from that harvest. There's more sunshine than there is hailstorms. So just keep that in mind, guys, as you continue your entrepreneurial journey. There's going to be times where it's going to storm, especially after you put in a tremendous amount of work. Don't let it get you down. Get back on the horse and make it happen. I'm not here 15 years later as a self-made entrepreneur. And I use that word loosely because there was a lot of people that helped me along the way. But if I didn't ignite that fire myself, I would not have the business that I have today. And we're almost at two decades. That's the biggest takeaway I want you to take. You're going to get a ton of no's, but it only takes one yes. So have an amazing day, guys. And I'll catch you on the next live stream. Don't forget to catch us every Monday, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll be doing a better job of sending out reminders up front and promoting this moving forward. Always, thanks again for all of your contribution once again. And again, everybody that joined us live today. We got Michelle back in the house, and Nicholas was in the house, and Marcus, MJ Sr. is in the house. Appreciate all you guys. Have an amazing day. We'll catch you on the next one real soon. Take care.